something that I have found uncomfortable is when men's groups become just bitch sessions.
We're not saying praying about it and going to God for it is wrong at all. But to the extent where these men use that as a watered down line as an excuse to just, well, I did what I could. God,
Yeah.
you do the rest. I need you to just pick me up, dust me off, and do all that stuff without me putting in any kind of effort.
When I came and I saw that Christ is the foundation and there's actually love and acceptance and no judgment, it just, everything that I was hoping for, I found. That's what kept making me want to come back.
Here I am thinking I'm just here because I heard there were free snacks.
All right, welcome everybody. And this is Redwood's group. We meet monthly. And if you're interested in joining, let me, Chip, or Angela, or Mike know. And we're happy to have an original gangster with us today. David, welcome back. So let's pray and then we'll get started. Father, we come before you this day with grateful hearts and anticipatory hearts for you to move in a way that only you can. So that you would open us to knowing you and to have our identity in you and to understand greater about your relationship with yourself, and so that can flow into why relationships are important for us. I pray for this brotherhood and other brotherhoods out there in the world, be them Christian or not, because brotherhood is something that you established. And I pray, Lord, that we would honor it here today. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, guys. So something that's been on my mind, and I think a little bit on this group's mind a bit too, and it's really going to fit quite nicely, David, with you being back here. And I hope you'll share a little bit about what you've been up to, is why are each one of us here? What brings you here? We'll start with that, but I'm going to have a follow-up question later. And if you want to hear it, I'll put it out there. But I want to ask, like, generally, what brings you here? And then secondarily, I'm going to ask about what is it about brotherhood or men's groups that you're looking for, or you test if you've been in them before and really dislike this part of it. That's sort of the question for the morning. What brings you here?
I think it's fitting that David is here because David's actually a big piece of why I am here. He invited me the first time, and even though I didn't follow up after that, he at least put me in connection. And with the brotherhood, I was just looking for people to kind of run with. A lot of times, as men, we go on these journeys, and it can be a lonely road sometimes, right? But when you have that person, even if it's just for one thing that you guys connect on, but you have somebody that runs with you and pushes you, right? There's times where you're with a certain group, they can really care less, right? They say they support you, but then at the end of the day, they don't check up or they don't run with you, or they say we want these things, but don't go for them. And I think a big piece of what I'm thankful for with this group is that we say we're gonna run and we go for the run. And you know what? If we gotta actually get some tank, we'll go a little bit further too.
Yeah. So I hear in that, Michael, this desire to find something that matches you, right? So like I'm hearing you say, like, you want to run, so you're looking for a group that wants to run.
Well, I'm also here because of David.
It's all because of you, David.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, God through David, he used David in such a way that the question was, I mean, or the way he worded it was, all you got to lose is one Wednesday, because we used to meet on, obviously, like Wednesday at 6 a.m. before, and I didn't understand why, or why I guess a platform like this is needed, because I've never done anything like this, try to open up in front of other people, let alone other men. And yeah, when I came and I saw that Christ is the foundation and there's actually love and acceptance and no judgment. It just everything that I was hoping for, I found. That's what kept making me want to come back. And obviously, God through you guys worked in a way that just brought me back home.
So I'd like to jump in there and say, so something I'm hearing you say is you were looking for accountability and no judgment and something that was spiritually focused.
Absolutely.
Well, if I can go next, I'm also here because of David. Well, I mean, all joking aside, like straight up, I don't think we would be here. I don't think Redwood would be here in the place that it is without David. And this is not just to get on the bandwagon, but the reality is David was one of the newest. He was the newer guy that come onto the podcast. And then on top of that, him leading the security group allowed me to kind of step back and reassess a couple things in life. And David was the center of a lot of those things. And he allowed me to focus on my marriage, my family, and at the same time focus on Redwood. And without that, this wouldn't be here the way it is. And so David, it's so timely that you are actually here today. And David's going to be like, well, you know what? I'm actually here because of me. But it's funny because the timing of this conversation actually aligns with the message from church, and I just wrote it down. There was something that was said that usually when men start off, or just not even men, but groups, it's because of a common interest. You know, you work together, you have, you play a sport together, you compete together, whatever. So there's a shared interest. But I think deep brotherhood, real lifelong relationships, it's a shared value. And I think for the men in here, it's the value of faith and pursuing who the man is that God called you to be in whatever aspect that means for us. Yeah, I think that for me, that's what real brotherhood is. It's not just the short-term stuff, but like, how do we do life together? And there's so much that comes with.
So Angelo, you were looking for shared relationships, shared connection, shared value and vision.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
so I'd say the reason that I'm here is somewhat related to one of the things that Angela was saying about looking for connection. I live in a more rural area than many of you do, and I love the men that I do life with here, but I wouldn't say that there is a critical mass of men that are looking for more. There's a decent amount of people that are relatively fine and settled with their life, and that's okay. Like I mean, I don't want to criticize any of them for their choices. That's fine. However, yeah, I've always been someone who was reaching and grasping and wanted more, wanted deeper connections. And I think that comes from the spirit in your heart. And the truth is, many people feel they have all the connection that they need, right? So I have to be careful about judging their hearts and what they have. But I've looked at different places and different pockets for deeper, authentic connections and landed here for good or for bad. We'll see how that goes. I'm still debating. No, just kidding. But one more piece about this is I'll say this about the community that I'm in. And I don't think this is necessarily just this. One of the men that I was working with one-on-one individually, he said he's disheartened by the fact that in the area that I'm in, it's okay to be non-educated. It's okay to just it's good enough. And that I think plays out in lots of Christian circles. And if it's all right to say, in a lot of men's groups that Christians run, it's good enough. It's sort of an afterthought. Like, I mean, you've seen it. Like, you've seen what the women put on, and then men are like, good enough. We got some barbecue and some guns, and so that's good. And it seems often like an afterthought, and that there's intention here. And I think that's what's different. So to men that are listening to this too, think about what it is you're looking for. Is it just a group of friends? And that's fine. You can get a group of friends, but if you want something more, think about the group that you're considering. What is its intention? And this group has a very clear one. about rebuilding men, helping families, and then ultimately with a goal of rescuing children.
Beautiful, yeah.
All right, David, the man of the hour. You had no idea this was. I don't think any of us did. So welcome.
I was just thinking I either walked into an intervention or a surprise party or something, you know.
That'll cheat you for not being here, right? So
Yeah.
all the
And here I am thinking I'm just here because I heard there were free snacks.
Thank you guys for your kind words. First off, looking back at it, it's hard to believe all that happens, but then, when you look back at it, you're like, oh yeah, that was a long time ago. I specifically remember, Angelo, you being a little concerned about stepping away from security and the conversation we have around that. And Chip, same thing. That was, gosh, what was it, over a year now? It's been
Almost.
a while.
Mm.
Yeah, time flies. And then Mike, I know you just started recently, so we were talking about this like back in April. So, I think Samuel, you still came because of me. You knew I was joining, so you're like, I'm here this morning because of David.
Fair enough.
No, but all joking aside, it's it's really great to hear that, and I'm here because first off, I miss you guys, and I miss doing this with you guys. Second off, just going through that small group that we had on Saturday mornings, I think it just reignited something where I'm like, we used to do this every Saturday, and it was great getting to know the guys. We would talk about some pretty deep things, I would say. But also very helpful things. So I'm here trying to seek that again. This session, I'm not in a small group. Ashley and I are actually leading one this time around. But I just miss it. I miss getting together with the guys and just talking and having that support group, and also the relationships that you develop with other guys.
David, I don't even think we told you this, but Sam's actually going to be in town.
Oh,
yeah, that's that's another conversation that we will have offline. But when Sam is in town, I think that would be really cool to actually do a live podcast with him. That's because I've missed it too, like our Saturday morning get-togethers and our conversations, and that would be awesome now that Sam's going to be here, and with the addition of Mike. It'll be nice to get all the OGs back together and have a live conversation. I think that will go for hours. So yes, snacks will be there just to make sure you're coming.
thank you.
Snacks will be there.
Yeah,
so don't worry.
Energy.
Yeah,
I was always jealous because you got coffee, and I told you guys, like, if I went to get coffee, it would take me 20 minutes.
yeah. I'm actually really excited. The season that Redwood is entering now is, you could see the new and the old coming together.
Yeah.
The online and the in-person, like, it served its purposes. And I feel like God put us in those moments and seasons to go in there, get the gold, get the knowledge, go into the next one, get the gold, get the knowledge, go into the next one. And then now it's starting to come together. I love it.
So let me ask this follow-up question. That I prepped you guys for this, but what have you liked? And this isn't about propping up this group. I'm really curious about it in general, because I think listeners are also like on the fence. They want something more, but they how do you look for it and find it? So what do you like about men's groups, and what have you found that was kind of like off-putting that you didn't really care for? And make sure you do have some. I know people shy away from that, and you don't need to name names, but I think it's always important to say what you don't like. And I'll put that out there. I think, all right, like, oh, this is crappy in my life, and this is crappy, and this is crappy, but there's Jesus, right? So like, and I detest that, like, because it sends a message for me, and I speak up about it. I said it in a recent group I was in. Like, that's not what this life is about. And if it is, then you really need to consider the joy and the hope that you have. Because yes, life can be hard, but I am not interested when I get together with a group of people just to listen to hear you bitch. I don't think that that's useful. That's just for me. Yeah, there's room for that. Yes, we've got to talk about struggles, but there's also something about creating life and getting excited and building iron sharpening iron, right? You should leave, I think, a men's group excited about your life, not miserable.
To piggyback off of that, Sam, I think mine is very similar to what you're saying. Going in a room and just kind of hearing guys complain, and it's just, I get it. Like, men don't normally have a space to express feelings and emotions. So then you come into something like that and now everyone's just doing it. But then my biggest thing was, what happens after that?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. You got it off your chest. You got to say whatever weight you're carrying and potentially share the load with some brothers. But then what happens after that? And then a lot of the men's responses would be, go back, read the Bible, and I'll pray about it. And this is where I think it gets a little edgy, because we're not saying praying about it and going to God for it is wrong at all. But to the extent where these men use that as a watered down line as an excuse to just, well, I did what I could. God, you do the rest. I've gotten hurt and I've fallen down, but God, I need you to just pick me up, dust me off, and do all that stuff without me putting in any kind of effort. Where 2 weeks ago at church, the sermon was, or 3 weeks ago, I should say, the sermon was talking about being a part of your own rescue. That's why when Jesus healed the man, he told him to pick up your mat. There was a part that we had to be participants in our own rescue. And I think most men shy away from that, and they'll blame the world, they'll blame their wife, they'll blame their kids, they'll blame everybody else but them. They'll even blame God and then go to him to ask for help again. And I think that pisses me off. And I think it's funny that you cussed more than I did right there. So yes, win for me.
You can also discuss what you'd like about it too. This isn't just us complaining.
It's funny that question, Samuel, you asked is because I actually said with this the exact same question on my way to work yesterday, and I was just basically talking to God and kind of analyzing my life, that would I had, or would my relationship with God be the same without this group or not? And what I mean by that, I feel like ever since God through David brought me to Redwood, it's like before I just prayed me, but now it's also the group of guys. I feel like spiritually I'm maturing, spiritually I'm growing. And I'm not saying that that could not happen on your own, but God also created this community. And biblically speaking, it is so important to have fellowship with other people, is because it's for your own building, like building yourself up. Not that, again, not that you can't do it on your own, but we talked about it in other episodes about the lone wolf mentality. When you're on your own, I just don't think it's a good place, because I'm speaking personally, because I was that. I was that lone wolf, and I thought that I can handle everything all by myself, and I can come to God and I can have that relationship and that strong relationship. But what this group actually did is, I feel like everything, the foundation was there, and it just helped me strengthen it and build from there. I don't think that when you build a home, you hardly could ever do it on your own. And and as you see videos of people trying to build stuff on their own, there comes a point where you actually gonna need somebody's help. And yeah, that's what I really like about this, is that it keeps me on check. It keeps me running back to that, and it's a great feeling.
Just speaking a little bit there of accountability, what you'd like is accountability. And I'm just going to tie in there. Jesus didn't do life on his own. God doesn't do life on his own. In fact, he created us so he wouldn't have life on his own. And this mentality, like you're talking about lone wolf, the phrase, and I mentioned it yesterday, the phrase that I hate in terms of this is, no one's coming to rescue you. It's such a lie. It's such a lie from Satan, and it sounds so good. That's garbage. Yeah, there is someone who came to rescue you, and there are always people who are available if you'll just reach out and stop being such a lone wolf person. I was going to say something. So I was going to swear some more. I
I
heard
was
that.
waiting for it. I was like, he's going for a triple. Okay, let's go. Let's go.
But it's just not helpful, but we believe it is to do it on our own. And you think that life on your own is some sort of badge of honor when it's really just selfishness and fear that drives that lone wolf mentality.
Just to piggy off of that is because from my experience, I never thought that everybody's busy. Everybody has their own stuff going on. Everybody's got their own problems. So I'm like, why am I gonna burden anybody? But when you see the genuineness of people coming here and trying to help each other, and maybe that's why a lot of men, and myself included at the time, didn't want that, is because like no matter what you said to anybody, they were so caught up doing their own thing that it really
Right.
didn't matter. It just felt on deaf ears. But when I found somebody or this group that in this group, actual men tend to forget about their problems and try to come in as a community and try to help that limping sheep and try to bring it and restore it to full health, even though they're struggling too. It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing that in our weakness, right, God is made strong. And it's such a beautiful thing to understand that.
Thanks, Chuck. Michael.
Running on this topic, but I think I shared with you guys on Sunday how I was feeling a little heavy hearted, and then I felt God's presence, and then it just kind of went away, and how beautiful it was. But something I enjoy about this group is that we all come together. We have our own things that we're dealing with, but at the same time, as we share with one another, I'm also being recharged. Right? That's one thing that I really enjoy, and then because of that, coming together and being recharged, I was able to reach out to other people and help them. I reached out to somebody, and then all of a sudden I was like, you know what? I don't get that a whole lot, and I thank you for that. Right? But then with downside, I haven't been in a lot of men's groups that are centered around faith, but I have been in, like we said, a group of men. And it's similar to what Samuel was saying, where it was like just bitching and moaning, doing nothing. We want these things, but don't take a part in our own salvation, our own helping. And I think that's one thing that I enjoy about this group. We all share our parts of what we're doing next. We carry each other's burdens, and then we help move forward.
I think of this model, Michael. What you're saying there is like this model that I see in Jesus, and it's not talked about a lot. But you have to read between the lines to find this. But like he sent out the 12 and or the 70, and then they come back and report, and then he sends them out again, right? So like that's what a little bit of what you're talking about, right? You come back to regroup, you build, you get strong, and then you go out again, and that is encouragement, right? And so then the report that you come back and you say like, hey, I reached out to this person, and you know, David was mentioned this entire time about doing that. That encourages all of us to want to grow more too, right? And so if Michael's doing it, if David's doing it, why am I not doing it, right? So yeah, that's a beautiful thing about solid growing men's groups. Thanks.
And it's also
David,
who you
how about you? Oh, go ahead, Chip.
I was gonna say it's also who you surround yourself with, because
Yeah.
me, David, and his brother, like we actually been doing life for over 20 years. So in all actuality, like I had this men's group in my life, right? That you didn't look at it like that, but it always was going back and forth, keeping each other accountable. But you can't expect when you have in your life somebody that, oh, let's go to bar, let's do this, let's do that. I get it, like it's a form of, you know, detaching and kind of in a way recharging, but it's different to have somebody that is inviting you to worship and fellowship versus, hey, let's just get away, let's just put a band-aid on this situation for right now, and let's just go drink our heads off.
Yeah. That's numbing and excuses, right? So this piece that we're talking about that some of us don't care for, maybe all, but how about you, David?
Yeah, I think Chip nailed it on the head. It's also who you surround yourself with. But the one thing I noticed, and I've never done men's groups, right? But when you have that lone wolf mentality, and let's say it's two guys that have lone wolf mentality, it can become emotionally draining to always be around that guy with the problems.
Yeah.
If it was just me and Chip, and let's say Chip had all the time, that's all we did. It becomes a lot because when you're a lone wolf and you find like one guy you can confide in, you confide everything in that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you may not know it, but the guy you're confiding in could also be carrying a whole bunch of your emotions and carrying that alone. But since he's a lone wolf, he's not going to go to someone else for it. So I think the nice thing about this group also, like how you guys were mentioning, that's uplifting for each other. It also gives us the ability to invest a little into multiple. And that's not to say that you can't form deep connections, but rather that it's a shared burden. And when it's shared, if Chip's having an issue, first off, I can be there to support him, but I also know that 5 other guys will as well. And also the perspective that you get from 5 different people. We've talked about it before, but I could say something and then Angelo or Michael can say something to Chip and he sees it in a different way. That's one of the nice things, I guess, about having that group. And then also just the way it forces you to expand out and be vulnerable. And once you have that ability, you kind of realize not everyone's out to get me. There could be actual people out there that care about me and want to see me succeed.
So getting multiple perspectives, I hear that, and also sharing the load is something that you've found that you really like.
Exactly.
That's so good. That's so good. I think that, to wrap on what everyone is saying, I think it's that's the value, right? If we're not trying to be an echo chamber and have the same voice repeated over and over and over, but we're all seeing something different from our perspective, from where we're sitting, where we are currently in that season or place in life, that we could add a little bit of wisdom. And the more different flavors you get to add into the pot, the better the meal ends up tasting in the end. So I think it's a beautiful thing when we're all here able to say, hey, if we really needed to pour into one person right now, we can do that and do it in an effective and efficient way.
Also, if, for example, I'm going to pick on Michael. Let's say Michael was struggling with something and he made a mistake. Hearing from 3 different people, hey, Mike, you made a mistake, might also change his perspective, where maybe in his mind, he's like, David, yeah, that guy's always, maybe he's a little more harsh. But then if from another guy and another guy and another guy, you hear, hey man, that, you got to work on that, that's not right. Then it starts to change and he goes, well, it's not just this one person. So the accountability, I guess, gets exponentially greater because you're hearing it over and over again.
Assuming Michael is wise.
Yeah.
And not
Assuming I'm not feeling like everybody just attacking me. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, what it talks about, and I think groups like this, and there are others out there in the world, so it's not like this isn't promoting this group. Groups that promote that ability, people that don't have the ego strength to handle that are going to run from a group like this. Like they would be gone. They're going to look for that group that just complains, that gives them the opportunity. And those groups don't grow. Like, I'm just being honest, they don't grow. And I'm not talking about numbers. They probably do grow in numbers, but they don't grow hearts. They don't grow in discipleship. They don't grow in leadership. They don't grow in depth of character.
And most men will run, right? I mean, we've seen it here in the very beginning, right?
Oh,
when
yeah.
we first started, we had like 12, 15, 16 guys on a call at once. And when we started kind of like ramping it up and kind of calling dudes out on some bullshit, like, okay, this is the same thing it's been the last couple of weeks. What are you doing to try to change?
Yeah.
And then we get that same answer. And then all of a sudden you push. And I don't even think we were pushing hard, to be completely honest. It was just kind of like, hey, what's going on with this? And they disappear.
I don't think it's that. I think it's the nature of the group. Like you can smell it. You can smell whether you want to grow or if you're going through the motion. And I know I do. I have to wrap up, but I want to say, like, if that's where you're at, that's okay. But have some awareness of it. Have some awareness that you aren't ready. You think that you're ready to grow and to be deep, but maybe there's some things you have to work on to get there. It's hard to be vulnerable. However, vulnerability is the fertile soil in which deep relationships grow.
And as usual, that's how Samuel wraps up our calls. He's like, all right, boys, got it. Yeah, no, that's good. That's good. That's good. Well, we appreciate you, gentlemen. Thank you for being here, for having been here all this time, all these years, and continuing to stay true and real and keeping each other rooted. We'll see all you guys next week.